All right, we're going to go ahead and get started tonight. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us. My name is Pat Kane. I am the Public Programs and Visitor Services Coordinator with the Museum of the Grand Prairie of the Champaign County Forest Preserve District. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining us tonight. Hope to have a whole bunch of fun here in the next few moments. Get started with this virtual tour of one of our favorite exhibits, Blacksmithing on the Prairie. Do us a favor real quick. We're always interested to see where you all are watching from. Put in the comments where you're watching from. I am broadcasting live from my apartment building in Champaign. This is our apartment here in Champaign because we cannot be at the museum. We are currently closed until at least the end of May now, but still doing a whole bunch of fun stuff to bring history to life for our followers, our community, including you all. So let us know where you're watching from. Leave a comment in the comment section, and do us a favor, share the stream so your Facebook followers can watch alongside you. We can make this an awesome and engaging event for everybody that would like to participate, including your Facebook friends. For those of you who do not know the Museum of the Grand Prairie opened in 1968 as the early American museum, and our current mission is to collect, preserve, and interpret the cultural and natural history of Champaign County and East Central Illinois. We're located at Lake of the Woods Forest Preserve. We're part of the Champaign County Forest Preserve District within the Museum and Education Department. We have a sister facility that focuses on environmental education at the Homer Lake Interpretive Center. Shout out to our friends at the Homer Lake Interpretive Center. As I mentioned just a few moments ago, despite us being closed, we're still doing everything that we can to effectively and creatively provide educational opportunities, local history stories, and maybe even an escape from reality for a few short moments. Maybe tonight will be a short escape from reality with this virtual tour. But we appreciate everyone's support through this time. Appreciate you watching. But we'll all come out on the other side of this eventually, and maybe even learn a thing or two in the process. Before we get going tonight, I want to promote a few upcoming events. See a handful of people letting us know where they're watching from. Tara in Thomasboro, thanks for commenting. Thanks for watching. Mindy in Farmer City, as always, good to see you. Hope Mark's doing okay as well. Tara is watching as well. She says hi to Erica. Again, comment in the comment section where you're watching from. Let us know where you're watching from. I'm in Champaign right now, so we'd love to see where everybody's watching from. Victoria in Lakeland, Florida. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Hope to have some fun tonight. Okay, but before we get started with this virtual tour, I did want to promote some things that we're doing at the museum despite us being closed. So if you follow us on social media, you may have noticed that we've been ramping up the Museum of the Grand Prairie social media pages, whether it's on Facebook, like you're watching from here, Twitter, Instagram. We even have new YouTube and Goodreads pages where we're trying to push out a whole bunch of awesome content to maybe sidetrack us from the current pandemic situation that everybody is facing. We've been doing things such as our Collections Corner initiative, where we post different pieces from our museum's collection, tell the stories of those objects, artifacts, photos, what have you. I've been sharing other stories of local history. We're providing educational activities for kids, even doing some staff book reviews on Goodreads, virtual exhibit tours like this one, and we've done a handful as well in the past of some other exhibits, doing some collaborative community events. Even have some more in store that I know my colleague Katie Snyder is working on. She's watching tonight too. Shout out to Katie. She's been doing some awesome stuff, working with some collaborative organizations, and she's got some good stuff in store too. So stay tuned for those collaborations as well. If you don't already, follow us on, like us or follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and check us out on YouTube and Goodreads. We're going to be posting more and more stuff. Although the museum is closed, the Champaign County Forest Preserve District areas are open for you to explore. Those trails, those bike paths, those walking paths, those are open for you to explore despite the indoor facilities being closed. But we do ask that when you're out there exploring nature, getting closer to nature at one of Champaign County's 6 beautiful forest preserves, please, please, please maintain a safe social distance of at least 6 feet from one another. I think Abe Lincoln was 6 feet plus. Stay at least an Abe Lincoln away from each other, and put on those awesome masks that we see everybody posting on Facebook. Wear those so you can protect yourself and protect others as best as you possibly can. Some other upcoming virtual events that we're doing this Sunday. There's a program called Sunset Yoga in the Garden that our registrar, Jen Grove, is actually putting on at 7 o'clock. She's going to put on this virtual yoga program. She will be broadcasting and teaching live from Mayberry Gelvin Botanical Garden there at Lake of the Woods Forest Preserve, a beautiful facility. And you can participate in some yoga from the comfort of your own home or wherever you would like to practice yoga. You can find out more info about that program on our Facebook page. There's a Facebook event, and we are asking that you register for that event. So check out that event on our Facebook page. Another event we're doing, weekly series we just started. We've had 2 editions of this so far. Mornings with the Museum, where we are at 10 a.m. on every Wednesday. We're sitting down with some museum staff members and some other special guests as well too throughout the Forest Preserve District and beyond, where we're just trying to have some informal conversations, have some chats with some coffee in the morning about local history and local stuff. Maybe we'll talk about items from our collection. This past week, we talked about our favorite stories, a lot of cool stories told from some of our museum senior staff members, whether it's about a particular object, some museum work that we've all participated in the past, or some other things. We're going to do another one this Wednesday. Going to have some new special guests on that one. So please, please, please stay tuned and tune in for that one on Wednesday at 10 o'clock, another edition of Mornings with the Museum. Bring your coffee and bring your questions. We're also encouraging this to be a live Q&A session where we want to hear from the community. We want to hear from you. Ask us your questions. Send us in any questions that you may have. If you want to know what we're doing right now, if you want to know our favorite object from museum collections, what do we like to do in our spare time even, what's our favorite subject of history to study, anything, ask us any question. We love these questions. So Facebook message us your questions, even leave them in the comment section if you want to do that as well. Lastly, we opened a brand new exhibit 1 week before we had to shut our doors in the middle of March, called How Long Must Women Wait? Women's Suffrage and Women's Rights in Champaign County. This awesome exhibit is commemorating the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment, and talks about the suffrage movement leading up to the suffrage movement, the post-suffrage movement, and even women's rights all the way through the 20th century into the current 21st century as well. And once we reopen, please, please, please come check out that awesome exhibit focusing on local women's history, suffrage, and women's rights. But we are doing a special exhibit speaker series with that exhibit as well. Last night, we were supposed to have our first event, our virtual History on Tap, where our director, Barb Garvey, was going to put on a program called Women, Alcohol, and the Vote. But unfortunately, we had some technical difficulties with that, but we got them worked out because we're obviously broadcasting live tonight. So tune in this Wednesday, May 6th, for that program. It's virtual History on Tap, where these programs originally were supposed to happen at local breweries or bars, and where we would also talk about some local history. This was supposed to take place at 25 o'clock brewery, but of course that can't happen. But you can still stop by 25 o'clock brewery or your other favorite local brewer to pick up some awesome local beer to consume while you're watching this event live on our Facebook page, where we'll do a toast to the 100th anniversary of women's suffrage passing. Another event in that series is called Casting a Historic Vote, which will happen on Saturday, May 30th. Jeannie Schultz Angel, president of the Illinois Association of Museums Board, as well as she works in education at Napier Settlement up north, will put on this program talking about suffrage in Illinois. So please check out that virtual program. We're going to do that live virtual here on our Facebook page as well. One more in the near future is going to be called History Brought to Life. Elizabeth Cady Stanton, historian and professional first-person interpreter Laura Keyes will take on the role of Elizabeth Cady Stanton, this known suffragist who worked so hard for women to have an equal place in society. And she will put on this engaging program, whether we have to do it over Zoom or otherwise on Sunday, June 7th. So more information about those programs can be found on our Facebook page. Check out the Facebook events tab to learn more about those programs, the dates and times, and even some more details. Okay, before we get started with this tour, I did want to mention a few other things. We got some other people who have commented where they're watching from. Coral is watching from Verona, Illinois. Thanks for watching, Coral. Barb is watching, our director, Barb. Barb, thanks for tuning in. And Lori is watching from Champaign. Again, let us know where you're watching from in the comment section, and click that share button so you can partake in this virtual tour alongside your Facebook friends. One other thing too, we are on a short delay from when I actually talk to when it's broadcast on Facebook. It may take about 10 to 20 seconds for that information to get to you. So there is a short delay. So if I don't immediately answer a question that you may have or a comment that you put in the comment section, just be mindful of that delay. Or maybe I'm trying to think of an answer of that question. All right, so without further ado, let's get this virtual tour going. I'm going to share my screen so we can watch some previously shot video of Blacksmithing on the Prairie and check out this awesome exhibit space. All right, so as I mentioned, we're walking here into the Museum of the Grand Prairie, located at Lake of the Woods Forest Preserve in Mahomet, this beautiful space that is currently closed, but will be open soon enough. Soon enough, folks, you can come back and see us. Go ahead and walk right in this front door. For those of you who don't know us, as I mentioned earlier, the Museum of the Grand Prairie is a local cultural and natural history museum that focuses on history of Champaign County and surrounding East Central Illinois. And this beautiful space, people always say, man, this place is so much bigger than what I thought it was if it's their first time ever coming in. We've got this beautiful chandelier hanging over the center stairs. We've got exhibits all throughout this beautiful museum space. There's our newest special exhibit, How Long Must Women Wait? Women's Suffrage and Women's Rights in Champaign County. We just did a virtual exhibit tour of that exhibit not too long ago, so check out that video on our Facebook page. There's an awesome mural that some middle school students from Franklin Steam Academy completed alongside that exhibit. Check out our Facebook page for more info on that mural and the awesome work that went into it as well. And look at this space. It's a beautiful building, opened up in 1968. The building itself is a historic artifact, and it's such an awesome place to be, awesome place to work, and can't wait to get back to working there as well. Here's our trademark exhibit called the Grand Prairie Story. We just did a virtual exhibit tour of that about a month ago, so check out that video as well too, talking about the cultural and natural history of Champaign County and East Central Illinois. Here's a small case exhibit called Called to Serve, Remembering Champaign County in World War II, focusing on local D-Day related history from the Second World War. And there's even stuff down in the basement. Our Discovering Home exhibit around the stairwell and off to the side, as well as Champaign County's Lincoln. So check out those virtual exhibits as well on our Facebook page. All right, so let's walk through the Grand Prairie Story exhibit, because we actually have to walk through this exhibit to get to Blacksmithing on the Prairie. So walking through here, checking out some local history, some Native American history off to the right, the timeline, the local timeline off to the left. Again, check out that virtual exhibit tour of the Grand Prairie Story if you haven't seen it already. That's on our Facebook page. All right, so we're getting into Blacksmithing on the Prairie. And before we get started, I did want to mention that we had some sad news come to us at the museum here recently. Pictured here is Charlie Keller. Charlie Keller worked for the museum for 7 years as our collections manager, and then volunteered for the museum several years before that. And in the past few weeks, Charlie Keller actually passed away at his home. So we received that sad news. But wanted to mention Charlie because he's the mastermind behind this exhibit, Blacksmithing on the Prairie. He was a very detail-oriented person and meticulously documented the Chesebro Blacksmith Shop in place when the museum acquired the contents of that space. Charlie was also a working blacksmith himself, as you can see him here, demonstrated numerous times at the museum. We want to send our best to Charlie's family at this time and anyone else who may have known him. I did not have the pleasure of meeting and knowing him, but everything that I have heard about Charlie has been nothing but positive, and he will be missed by many, including us at the museum. All right, so checking out this exhibit space, a lot of times it's referred to as the tool wing at the Museum of the Grand Prairie, because we're going to see a whole bunch of tools, agricultural tools, woodworking tools, metal tools, a whole bunch of things. But blacksmithing on the prairie, this is all centered around this artisan trade of blacksmithing. And in particular, we're focusing on one family known as the Chesebros that lived in Saunemin, Illinois. Picture here is the Chesebro Blacksmith Shop. Up top, it says horseshoeing, plow, and general repairing. This was a blacksmith shop that was located in Saunemin, Illinois, which is in a county just north of Champaign County, where we're located here in central Illinois in Livingston County. And it was owned by the Chesebro family, started by A.B. Chesebro, and then passed down to his sons, Ralph and Elmer Chesebro, this family business. And it started in 1888 and operated into the 1920s, this successful Chesebro Blacksmith Shop. So as we can see here, here's a small map of central Illinois. There we are, located in Champaign County there in Mahomet, with Saunemin just being north of it. Off to the left picture here is Ralph Chesebro, the son of A.B. Chesebro that was to the right. Here's another photo of Ralph a little more up close, who operated the family business after his father passed it down to him. There's Ralph again. I think this photo was taken around the 4th of July, because it looks like he's lighting a firecracker with his friends around. There's Ralph picture seated as well with a cigar in his hand. That may be his brother, maybe his friend seated next to him. I'm not quite sure. Here's a photo of Ralph standing at the counter of a general store as well, too. Looks like he's picking up some cigars, but Ralph would be one of the operators of the Chesebro Blacksmith Shop. And there's A.B. Chesebro. Check out that mustache. That's awesome. I wish I could grow a mustache that long. Hey, Terry Husted tuning in. Thanks for watching as well. So there were also 12 similar blacksmith shops in Champaign and Urbana in the early 1900s. Here's a bill from the Fultz Blacksmith Shop that was located in Champaign. So there were some in Champaign County, but this one focuses a lot on the one located in Livingston County in Saunemin. There's a cool advertisement. Uncle Sam is advocating for people to get to work becoming blacksmiths to help out the United States. But the Chesebro Blacksmith Shop opened up in 1888, but had to sadly close in 1920 because after World War I, and when society became more industrialized, the need for local blacksmiths dwindled. And basically what happened is the Chesebro Blacksmith Shop was essentially locked and remained untouched for about 70 years until the 1990s, when Pat and Nina Chesebro, the daughters of Ralph Chesebro, Ralph and Catherine Chesebro, donated the contents of the museum or the contents of the blacksmith shop to the museum. And we're able to understand what happened with the Chesebro Blacksmith Shop and the Chesebro family by looking at a number of other artifacts that came with the contents of that blacksmith shop, such as these ledgers, these order books that detail who the Chesebros would be working with, who would place orders, what materials they would be making. Here's some stationery from the Chesebros. Up top, E.L. Chesebro for Elmer Chesebro and Ralph Chesebro, the brothers that would operate this. Here's some ration books that were also part of the Chesebro collection when it was donated, so we can learn a little bit more about the historical context. Here's a invoice from Ralph Chesebro. Looks like he's charging somebody $3 for, I think, burning holes. Here's an invoice that was sent from Kimball Company, automobile tires and automobile accessories, to the Chesebro shop. Here's a photo of a woman and a baby on this awesome wagon. There's a whole bunch of awesome photos within the Chesebro collection too. Here's a high school diploma where Ralph Chesebro graduated from Saunemin High School in 1898. Here's a photo of 4 kids. I love this photo. This is a historic photo. Look at the attire, look at what they're sitting on, what they're wearing. Some kids in Pontiac, Illinois. Here's a letter from some legal counsel to Ralph Chesebro in relation to his seeking of a patent for a kerosene vaporizer as well. So the Chesebros were involved in a whole bunch of local history. Saw a newspaper photo of some other Chesebros. Chesebros also, they have a whole bunch of greeting cards, or like Valentines, like pictured here within the collection. So those are really cool to look at as well too, especially around the holidays, whether it's Valentine's Day or Christmas. The video paused here for a second. Give me one moment. See if we can get it going again. Yeah, so here's this Valentine, part of the greeting card, small chunk of greeting cards that are also within the collection. Here's even a ticket to a ballroom dance that Ralph Chesebro attended in Forest Park, formerly Harlem. There's also some really beautiful watercolor paintings signed by Catherine Kaiser, the maiden name of Catherine Chesebro, the mother of the Chesebro family. It looked like she was painting some red flowers. There's also what she called Lady of the Lake painted here. Here's a scholarship to normal school that Pat Chesebro, one of the daughters of Ralph and Catherine Chesebro, received to go on to what is now Illinois State University. So a lot of rich history within the Chesebro Blacksmith Shop as well as the Chesebro family. All right, so moving on, we can see, we got a recreated blacksmith shop back there that we'll get to in a few moments, but we're going to check out some other things that blacksmiths such as the Chesebros would have worked on, including buggies. These buggies, main source of transportation for a long time prior to automobiles, like this buggy pictured up here that Ralph Chesebro is even in this photo. There's even a guy riding the horse, which is a little uncustomary. But on top of that horse, that man has some buggy shafts beneath his feet, which are these large, long black pieces that we see here. This frame here, this buggy shaft would be attached to a buggy to help maneuver the buggy with a horse atop it. And it was made to fit the buggy that is pictured down below here that we're getting to. But blacksmiths, there's a whole lot of metal on these buggies that blacksmiths would have to create, even repair in a whole bunch of ways. And one thing that would need to be created and repaired a whole bunch would be these wheels and these tires. This is known as a trick buggy, which belonged to the Trick family in Sidney, Illinois, in the late 19th century, which Sidney is located right here in Champaign County. There's I believe that's a jack to jack up buggies to get the wheels off. But here's how to make a tire for a buggy. Look at the process that it would take. You'd have to measure it. Even would have to, it looks like there were 3 guys there, pictured there, heating up the iron tire. Tires that we have now that go on cars are made of rubber, but these tires that are on these buggies made of iron, made of metal. And those 3 guys off there to the right are stretching and heating these tires to fit around the wooden spokes and these wooden wheels. So once they would heat it up, then they would do what's called quenching, where they would use water to help prevent singeing the wood of the wheel once you're putting that hot metal tire on it. And then it would also form real nice and tight around that wood once you would cool it down in that quenching process. And as you can see on this wheel, that tire above is actually made of iron, made of metal, not rubber like we're used to seeing on automobiles today. Fifth wheel, you may have been a fifth wheel on a double date or a third wheel on a regular date, but fifth wheel would be put on buggies sometimes be located on the front axle to help maintain stability so it wouldn't careen out of control. So there's a fifth wheel mounted up on the wall. Here's a bow. Buggies and bows, these bows would be put over the top. Almost think of it like a convertible top of a car now, but just to protect people from, the elements, whether it's the sun or the rain or whatever else, have a little topper over the buggy that would sit over the seat. Buggies, people had to keep them clean, just like we keep our cars clean now. So oftentimes when they would be taken into the blacksmith shop for repairs, they would also, be given a fresh coat of paint, some other touch-ups, cleanups, grease jobs, whatever else, some paint brushes, what looks like some paint brushes down here on the ground to help touch up this buggy because people wanted to keep it in tip-top shape. People care about their cars today, making sure they look nice. I should probably take better care of my car, but people wanted to make sure that these buggies, different expensive investments, things that they would be seen in, look nice. Okay, so moving on to some other parts of the exhibit, we're going to see a lot of tools. There's a lot of historic artifacts here on the floor, whether it's another wheel, like these huge spokes. This sign here shows, how getting a wooden spoke in place. and getting you know, wooden wheel together, how difficult that may be. These giant wheels, much larger than our car wheels that we have today. But you know, we see a lot of wood as well too within these tools. Metal, lots of metal, lots of wood. Blacksmiths would also have to be pretty handy in woodworking as well. We'll get to that in a few moments. Some other things from the Chesebro collection, a couple other tools that they would need in order to work on a buggy. Here's a box of bits, you know, that could be used. These tools could be used when repairing or working on a buggy. Here's the Chesebro stamp that would be stamped on their work. Excuse me. So people would know that it was made by Chesebro. It would be heated up in a forge and then stamped on whatever they were working on. There's a traveler. That wheel would be used to measure the circumference of a buggy wheel to make sure you get the right size. There's a felloe, also used in the making of wheels. A spoke dog, also used in the making of the wooden spokes, putting them snugly in place as well. So these tools, a lot of tools needed to work on these 19th century and early 20th century buggies. Off to the left there was a tenoning tool. Tenons made by the Chesebros also work on these historic buggies. Those tenons look like pegs that would fit on the end of spokes. Okay. Let's see what else. So we got some other tools. We got this tool bench here. We got a drill brace. Could be used like sometimes you still see these hand drills in place in today's day and age as well. We put some drill bits in the end there to drill by hand. You know, whether you're drilling into wood or maybe drilling into some other things. Another key tool in the Chesebro Blacksmith Shop. We also see a spoke shave for shaving spokes. You know, to get that nice round shape on that piece of wood. Got another tool here, looks like a chisel of some sort, you know, to help working with the wood, working with those buggy wheels. Here is a cooper shave. A cooper is an individual who makes buckets or barrels. We've got this interactive piece here, so you can feel like a cooper shaving some wood. That wood can shave quite a bit. That's another tool used in woodworking and also in the blacksmith shop. Also, we even have this shoe stretcher that a cobbler or a shoemaker would use to repair shoes, stretch leather, stretch material in order to make shoes. Also down here in the Chesebro Blacksmith. What we can do is we can spin this shoe stretcher to make it wider or smaller or more narrow. You know, to get the right size, just the right size. And that looks kind of small. People were smaller back then as well too. I'm not sure that could make a shoe that I could fit in, unfortunately. Here we have this table saw, and on this table saw are a whole bunch of woodworking tools. As I just mentioned, you know, blacksmiths and these local artisans had to be jacks of all trades. I had to know, you know, had to be very handy. There's a whole bunch of woodworking tools there. We see some saw blades, some planes, hammer, some hacksaws, you know, other things to work with wood. We even got some saws and a crowbar hanging up there as well. Looks like we have some sort of shaver up there, another saw blade for the table saw. You know, got to be handy in a bunch of different areas. This next section focuses on Catherine, Pat, Nina, and Ruth Chesebro. Wanted to show you some more photos of them as well. Here's Catherine in 4 different poses. Catherine was the mother of the Chesebro family. Here are her three daughters. Pat is the little baby in the center, and then we have Nina and Ruth Chesebro off to the side there. There's Pat, the youngest one, off to the left again. These kids, they lived right next to this blacksmith shop, this Chesebro Blacksmith Shop, and it was a huge, huge part of their life. There's a photo of Ruth Chesebro as well. As a young child, seated in a chair. She doesn't look too pleased to be taking this photo, or maybe her mother asked her to be, you know, a little more serious. But you know, here's there's a photo of Pat Chesebro as well too. But you know, they were you know, successful and influential women as well. Here's a photo of Nina Chesebro on a bicycle. Looks like it's just outside the house as well. But you know, Catherine Chesebro was a huge proponent of education. In our women's suffrage exhibit, there's a piece on Catherine's sex education speech that she made as well too. So you'll have to check out that virtual tour to learn more about Catherine Chesebro's sex education speech that was stuffed in a book that we have on display as well too. There's a photo of Nina Chesebro, color photo of Nina Chesebro, one of the daughters. Here's Pat Chesebro. We saw that scholarship that Pat Chesebro received to go to Illinois State Normal School, teaching school, now known as Illinois State University. And she had that scholarship to go there, and she would eventually go on to be a dean, assistant dean of women at ISU as well too. So she was a very successful woman from the Chesebro family. Big supporter of education. There's a photo of Pat when she was working as assistant dean at ISNU, now Illinois State University. And then here's a photo of Catherine Chesebro later in her life with Nina and Pat Chesebro on either side of her as well too. We have these figures here too to show Catherine, Pat, Nina, and Ruth. And look at these awesome toys and these awesome clothes as well too that are part of the Chesebro collection. Takes us back in time, gives us a little more historical context, what these kids may have done, what they may have played with when they were growing up right around the Chesebro Blacksmith Shop. This case has some artwork there. There's a painting, a drawing of a flower up there. I've got a postcard here. There's that book I was talking about titled The Cottage Physician, where a sex education speech was tucked in there that was given by Catherine Kaiser Chesebro with her interest in education and public service as well. The video seems to have froze again. Give me one moment while I get it going again. These Chesebro, the Chesebro family, whether it was Ralph Chesebro, Catherine Chesebro, Pat Chesebro, Nina Chesebro, or Ruth Chesebro, all very, very involved, very smart individuals that would have some successful lives, successful careers. This case coming up here, I love this case that we'll look at in just a second. But here's some more photos of Ruth and Nina Chesebro at play. It says, we played in the shop, but when work was going on, when Dad was working, they wouldn't play in the shop, but they would also love to go down there and watch the family business. And these toys here, as Barb mentioned in the chat, are the girls' toys that they would play with just outside the Chesebro shop, maybe even inside Chesebro shop. There's a teddy bear there. There's a photo here of the three girls playing some doll clothespins. Here's a boat as well. There's a little drum up above, some building blocks, but these are some historic toys. There's a puppet doll down there as well too, a baby doll as well too in the carrier. But wanted to talk a little bit about the Chesebro women as well too. All right, we're going to step inside the Chesebro Blacksmith Shop. That sign looked a lot like that original sign that we saw earlier on in the very beginning of the exhibit. All right, so that photo up to the top right is what the Chesebro shop looked like in 1992. Got those big sliding doors, so horses and wagons could easily walk their way inside. We see two chimneys that would be connected to the forges, those hot places, in order to keep that forge nice and hot. Trying to keep this video feed going as best as possible. Thanks for the info, Terry. I'm having some freezing issues on my end, but it seems to be going good now. But check out this blacksmith shop. Look at all those horseshoes that we just saw up on the wall. Tons and tons and tons of horseshoes. And when this collection was donated to the museum, each one of those horseshoes had to be given an object ID number, an ID number that we use to track objects and pieces within our collection. So anybody want to take a guess in the chat how many horseshoes you think are up on that wall? Take a guess right in the chat here, right in the comment section. How many horseshoes you think are hanging up on that wall? Look at all those horseshoes. Each one of those had to be processed and cataloged into our collection. So many horseshoes. But this is what it looked like when museum staff members walked into the Chesebro Blacksmith Shop in the 1990s, largely untouched. Tongs still hanging off to the side of the forge, almost like it was, untouched. It was preserved in time when the Chesebro Blacksmith Shop closed in 1920. Okay, so the center here, the center chimney, looking at this forge here, talks a little bit about all the tools that would be needed. We saw a whole bunch of different types of tongs of different sizes. We saw those horseshoes that we made. Here's some coal that could be scooped into the forge because it was very, very important for blacksmiths, still important to blacksmiths. That forge and that hot fire is essential when working with metal, working with, making these tools and these metal pieces of art. Here we have some more tools and more supplies hanging up on the shelves. See some pipes here that's flowing into the forge. That pipe is actually connected to, once we pan over to the other side, connected to a blower that would feed air into the forge, fanning the flame continuously. You might fan a campfire in order to bring, more oxygen into the fire so it can, get much hotter and stay alive for much, much longer. Here we have a trip hammer as well too. This is a heavy, heavy, heavy piece of machinery here. It's called a trip hammer. There's hammer in the name. In the center here, this would move up and down over and over and over again. And this, machine, this mechanized machine, would help blacksmiths in forming the metal by beating, I think, somewhere around 90 to 120 times per minute. And this is a massive piece of machinery, as I mentioned. Took quite a few people to move this into the museum, is my understanding. And it's connected to some pulleys up above as well, too. Here's a fire extinguisher, pretty important as well, too. Evidently, there was a potential for a disastrous fire in 1919, and that fire extinguisher helped save the Chesebro Blacksmith Shop. That artifact may single-handedly save this entire exhibit, because if that blacksmith shop were to go up in flames, would we be able to put on this exhibit? Who knows? Maybe not. Maybe it would have burned down the, all the records and all the things. So that was a very, very important time in the Chesebro Blacksmith Shop existence, saving this shop so we can continue to tell these stories far into the future with that old fire extinguisher. Here we have a phone in the shop. We where the Chesebros, Ralph and Elmer, would use it to contact with other vendors or other customers, see if they can get some more supplies, take more orders over the phone, take phone messages, and that sort of thing. Here we've got some images, some photos from the Chesebro Blacksmith Shop, what it looked like in when it was operating, and another photo of a trip hammer in use. That photo, as you can see there, you stick some hot metal in there in that large piece of machinery, and it would move up and down, like a hammer, and to continuously beat that metal into the shape that you were looking to create. And then we have another photo down here in the bottom right. Look at all that open space. You want to have a lot of open space in a blacksmith shop so horses could come in and out, make a lot of horseshoes. Blacksmiths would also have to practice in the art of being a farrier as well too, making horseshoes, since before automobiles were largely in operation. A lot of people got around by horse, buggy, or maybe even just by horseback. So even got some blacksmiths in that shop as well. Here's a drawing, little schematic of what it looked like in the Chesebro Blacksmith Shop, and it looks very, very similar to what we see here in this exhibit. Again, props to Charlie Keller and his meticulous, detail-oriented work in taking down almost exactly what the Chesebro Blacksmith Shop looked like. Look at all those horseshoes hanging up on the wall there in the original shop. Again, I didn't see any comments in the comment section. How many horseshoes do you think are hanging up on that wall? There's tons and tons of horseshoes. Take a guess. Let me know how many horseshoes you think are hanging up on that wall. Here's another close-up shot of that trip hammer, this tool, this machine that would be used to work with metal. There's a drawing of a blower that would feed some air into the forge, and then also these bellows. We'll spin around here in a few moments to check out the bellows that we have in the exhibit too, and get to work with some of those to fan the flame. You may have seen those before too. If you have a chimney, or maybe even seen it in some movies as well too. Katie said 389 horseshoes. That's a ton of horseshoes. Tell me your guesses. Okay, we're looking at this desk here to look at some tools. Some things that blacksmiths would make, some from the Chesebro collection as well too. Looks like we got 2 hammers, a ring, a chisel, and a wrench in this drawer. Anything that was made with metal, made with wood and metal, blacksmith would have worked on it. Here's some more information. We could come back to this. at a later date, and you could pause and read more about some of those tools and stuff. But opening up these desk drawers, see what else we got in here. Got some other tools. Looks like some wrenches. We've even got what looks like that 4-spoke item, that mysterious item there. We've got what looks like some chisels, maybe even some punches in there. Something looks like a padlock even off to the right there. Look at all these objects, these artifacts made with metal that a blacksmith would use or create in a blacksmith shop. We got some taps, some die holders, some other tools that blacksmiths use. More wrenches, curved wrench in there. One of these wrenches is marked Ford, maybe used when Ralph and Elmer Chesebro in the latter part of the Chesebro Blacksmith Shop, they started to work on some automobiles even. Here's a drill brace like we saw on the workbench, and some drill bits as well too. Put in there. Here's some axe blades, axe heads, and hatchet heads as well. Pieces of metal that would need to go on the end of some long wooden handles as well too to chop some wood. Here we've got some punches again. Looks like some tobacco can, door knobbers, more punches and chisels, tons and tons of artifacts. I believe there were thousands of artifacts that came from the Chesebro collection, whether it's these tools, the photos, the documents, the farm equipment, the agricultural equipment. This is such an expansive collection that tells such a great story of some local history here in Central Illinois. Here's a spinning wheel. Again, we can see that the tire is made of metal, not made of rubber like the tires on our cars today. Spin that wheel around, we can pretend to measure it like we're a blacksmith ourselves. Here we can see, we're going to take a look at the bellows up there. These bellows sometimes would be attached to chains up top that the blacksmith could then maneuver up and down, yank down on the chain to move it to pump some air into the forge. This one is the hand pump forge here, or hand pump bellow, and it's pumping air and oxygen into this fire that we have here. Got to have oxygen to keep fire alive, and blacksmiths had to keep that fire going, had to keep it hot in order to get their iron hot. Strike while the iron is hot. Blacksmith had to create things, when they would get much hotter in a hot iron forge as well. And then this chart over here, this chart's pretty cool because it shows you, the temperature of metal when it's at certain colors. White iron or steel is welded, yellow iron is forged, and red iron can be finished or straightened. So depending on the color of the metal, it lets you know what you're able to do with it in the forge. Gary said, unless I missed it, will you discuss why he quit working at the shop? What happened to him? So it's my understanding that the Chesebro Blacksmith Shop had to close when society was becoming more industrialized following the World War. As the Industrial Revolution is taking place, things are becoming much more commercially driven. Larger industries are kind of pushing these local independent artisans, such as blacksmiths, out the door, out of business. That's my understanding. Maybe Barb knows some more info. I think she's still watching, but that's my understanding why they had to close down business, is because they were being beat out by industrial society, maybe these larger operations that would be more commercial, beat out the smaller independent mom and pop Chesebros. Here we got this interactive horseshoe display. See if we can fit some horseshoes onto this horse, and there's different sizes of horseshoes for different reasons. We got the smaller racing shoe, it's lightweight. So when horses would race, in today's day and age, have smaller horseshoes, they can move faster. That one doesn't quite fit this horseshoe. Art says he did not. Ralph and Elmer had trouble getting folks to pay up their accounts during World War I, and they didn't want to get into automobile repair. First World War affecting the closing of the Chesebro Blacksmith Shop. Okay, got some other types of horseshoes here. There's a mule shoe, a little bit different shape to fit a mule. Draft shoes, a huge shoe that we just saw. I tried to fit on that horse for larger horses such as like the Clydesdales that we see in those famous Budweiser commercials in it. So yeah. Here we got a hammer and an anvil. We used to have some pieces of copper that you could pretend to, bang on, like you could blast yourself and pick up the tongue. But I couldn't find any copper. But here we are banging on this anvil just a couple times, pretending like we're one of the Chesebros in the blacksmith shop. And I just dropped the hammer too. Made that look. Okay. So last few pieces of this blacksmithing on the Prairie exhibit are going to show, more tools. I mentioned at the beginning, oftentimes staff members refer to this as the tooling. There's a lot of tools. Blacksmiths would have to work on a whole bunch of tools, especially as it relates to agriculture. The corn harvesting corn required a whole bunch of different types of tools, whether for shocking, or even just pulling them out of the ground, cutting them down, shelling them. There's a metal corn sheller there. There's some blades used to cut down corn stalks. Here's some young men in a cornfield as well. So anything made with metal, they would have to. Barb says I should have used a penny. I guess I didn't think about that. Maybe I didn't even have any pennies on me. I don't know. I should have banged on a penny back there. Here's something that the Saunemin School District commissioned them to create to scrape off boots at the Chesebro Blacksmith Shop. Coming into winter, various other things would be needed from a blacksmith, or that would be commissioned by two blacksmiths to create maybe these chains and these hooks used to take down some trees, some firewood. We got some various, maybe an apple peeler repair or creation. A lot of metal pieces in there that blacksmiths could contribute to. Here we got an ice box. Trying to keep things cold. We don't have ice boxes in use anymore too much. We got our modern refrigerators, but what about to cut that ice? We'll see some ice saws in the last part of this work. In the summertime, we got these blades here, these scythes. These sickles used to harvest some crops in the summertime. There's a yoke up there with some metal pieces on it to harvest some things in central Illinois during the summer harvest time. Here's this bench, which I believe is used in working with leather, leather. Also, using a whole bunch of tools and equipment. Making hay while the sun shines. Here's a photo of a local family. Are they making hay or are they harvesting wheat? Have to take a little bit deeper look into that one. There's a hay fork up there with some metal prongs and a wooden handle. It looks like we got some blades down there, some hooks. Hey, that kind of looks like a lawnmower a little bit. Got some metal blades on that cutter as well, grass cutter, maybe even used to make some hay as well. Sharpening, so getting ready for springtime, getting ready to plow up that ground. Those blades on those plows would be sent to blacksmiths, maybe even the Chesebros there in Saunemin, Illinois, to sharpen up, get ready for the springtime. We got a rack here, wooden rack to hang some things on in the blacksmith shop. Got some other tools down here, related to spring plowing time. There's a plow with a blade on it. Those blades down below would need to be sharpened, sent off to the blacksmiths to be sharpened, so they could cut through that awesome central Illinois soil. Terry said threshing wheat or oats. That's what I thought. I didn't think that was hay, but that's what I thought it was. Maybe they were harvesting some wheat. Here's some more information on some plows. You can come back to this virtual video, and if you're wanting to read these interpretive signs, if you want to read that text, you can pause it and play it as much as you want, and you can read some of that information text. All right, so this last piece talks about wintertime, snow, sleds, ice, and what the Chesebros would have worked on to help with that season, the tools that would be needed in that season. Here we see down below Pat Chesebro. She's got a sled that in 1928, which is also hanging up on the wall, that we'll see can just, there it is. We kind of see it to the right. That sled was the sled that was in the photo of Pat Chesebro. But it's got those metal, it's got those metal slides on the bottom there that would need to be either sharpened or repaired or whatever else at a blacksmith shop. There's cool photos of kids sledding in the early 20th century. Shoes and runners for sleds as well too would be needed to be created or repaired in blacksmith shops as well. Look at these ice cutters. This reminds me, my niece is a huge fan of the Frozen movies, and I know they start off the first Frozen and singing and cutting ice with these huge ice cutters and these ice saws, and that's what it reminds me of when I come into this tooling. Look at that big ice saw. Cut large chunks of ice out of the ground, out of ponds, out of lakes. Here we got some sled shoes, curved sled shoes for those sleighs and sleds in the wintertime. And that is our exhibit, Blacksmithing on the Prairie. There's a lot of rich history in this exhibit. This exhibit was made possible with a grant from the state of Illinois and a whole bunch of help from Pat and Nina Chesebro. Also some help from some folks as well too. We're still trying to keep blacksmithing alive. We keep it alive in programming. Huge shout out to Mark and Mindy Gardner and Terry Husted and Monty Campbell, who I think they're watching now, for all of their help in keeping blacksmithing alive and their help with this exhibit as well too. We do blacksmithing every fall during our annual Prairie Stories event, which is one of our bigger events that we put on each year, and it wouldn't be possible without those folks. And hopefully things work out this fall to where we can continue to do Prairie Stories. I hope so. But every day is different, which I'm sure you're all very much aware of. But thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. As I mentioned, go back. This video will continue to live on our Facebook page. If you wanted to recheck some things out, go back in the video, rewind, pause, play as much as you want, and check out some of those other virtual exhibit tours that I was talking about, some of those other videos, some of that other content on our Facebook page. Check those out. We miss you all. We want to be back to work. We want to be back in the museum as much as our visitors want to come in. But soon enough we'll be there. Stay tuned on our Facebook page because we're still doing stuff every day, trying to reach the community as much as we can. We miss you all. Again, thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Good to see everybody. Mindy said thanks. Hey, thanks for tuning in, Mindy. Thanks, Marina. Thanks, Barb. Terry. Thanks again, Barb and Katie. Thanks for tuning in, as always, all of your help as well, too. Enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you again.